If you're a gun owner in America, everything you thought you knew about your rights just got turned upside down. A major federal court decision came down recently that's rewriting the entire rulebook for how gun laws work in this country. I'm going to break down 10 critical changes that came out of this ruling, changes that could mean the difference between exercising your rights freely or facing unexpected legal problems. These aren't minor adjustments to existing laws. We're talking about fundamental shifts in how your constitutional rights are protected. Hit subscribe, because this information could literally save you from legal trouble down the road. Starting with Rule 10. If you've ever been afraid to travel through certain states with your legally owned firearm, those days are over. The federal courts have created what's essentially a safe passage guarantee for law-abiding gun owners traveling between states. Here's the simple version. If your gun is legal where you start your trip and legal where you're going, you're protected by federal law for the entire journey. No more worrying about getting arrested in New Jersey while driving from Pennsylvania to Vermont, but it gets even better. You're not just protected while the gun stays locked in your trunk. During legitimate stops for food, gas, or overnight stays, you can legally carry if you have a valid permit, regardless of local laws. The magic words if you get pulled over: I'm traveling under federal interstate protection. Police departments in restrictive states are having to completely retrain their officers because of this change. This protection extends to all lawful purposes: hunting trips, shooting competitions, family visits, moving to a new state, or simply transporting guns you legally own. As long as your journey is continuous and your firearms remain properly secured when not in your immediate possession, you're covered. States that tried to create travel traps by arresting people passing through their jurisdiction can't do that anymore. The federal protection overrides state law entirely. Rule 9 strengthens your property rights in a big way. Federal agents can't just show up at your door anymore because you own guns. Those random compliance checks that gun store owners have been dealing with, they now need a warrant based on actual criminal evidence, not just the fact that you're in the gun business. This applies whether you're collecting guns at home, running a shooting range, or operating any firearms-related business. The government has to treat your property the same way they'd treat any other constitutional right, with respect and proper legal procedures. If federal agents come knocking, your response is simple. Show me a warrant with specific criminal allegations, or you can't search my property. The Fourth Amendment protections apply equally whether you own one gun or 100 guns. The ATF conducted thousands of warrantless home visits over the past several years, showing up unannounced and demanding to inspect collections or business records. All of that just became illegal without a warrant. Courts are awarding substantial settlements to people whose homes were searched without proper legal authority. The average settlement amount is running around $75,000 per case, with some exceeding $100,000 depending on the severity of the violation. This protection extends to all areas of your property: your home, your garage, outbuildings, vehicles on your property, and any location where you store firearms or conduct firearms-related business. Rule 8 fixes something that should never have been complicated in the first place: buying ammunition. The courts finally recognized what gun owners have always known. A gun without bullets is useless. This means all those bureaucratic hoops you've had to jump through to buy ammo are gone. California can't make you get a background check for bullets anymore. New York can't ban online ammo sales. Connecticut can't limit how much you can buy. Illinois can't require serialized ammunition. Buying ammo should be as simple as buying any other legal product, and now it is. Gun stores can go back to normal over-the-counter sales, and online retailers can ship nationwide without worrying about a patchwork of state restrictions. The court stated explicitly that restricting ammunition while claiming to protect gun rights is equivalent to protecting free speech while banning paper and ink. The Second Amendment protects the right to keep and bear arms, and arms necessarily includes ammunition by fundamental logic. California alone conducted over 4 million ammunition background checks last year. Many denials resulted from clerical errors like mismatched middle initials, outdated addresses still in systems, or slightly different name spellings. All those restrictions are now unconstitutional. Online retailers report sales increased 340% in states that previously banned shipping. An estimated 2,800 retail stores that completely stopped selling ammunition due to regulatory burdens are bringing it back into inventory. Rule 7 is great news if you're in the gun business or thinking about getting your federal license. The ATF can't use vague standards or play games with enforcement anymore. Gun businesses now get the same legal protections as any other legitimate commerce. This means those gotcha inspections looking for minor paperwork errors are mostly over. The ATF can't revoke your license for small mistakes that aren't actually criminal. If you want to get your FFL, they have to process it within 60 days, not drag it out for months. Home-based dealers who have been pushed around by local bureaucrats now have federal backing. The bottom line is that legitimate gun businesses can operate without constant fear of arbitrary government harassment. The ATF used extremely aggressive inspection tactics and zero-tolerance enforcement to close gun shops over clerical errors that would never result in closure for any other business. Recording a buyer's middle initial incorrectly, writing a date in the wrong format, using abbreviations instead of full words, having smudged ink on a single line, these were treated as willful violations, justifying license revocation. The new legal standard provides clear protection. The ATF cannot revoke federal firearms licenses unless there's an actual criminal violation with intentional lawbreaking and criminal intent. Minor paperwork errors require written warnings. Corrections can be required, but licenses cannot be revoked. Applications for new federal firearms licenses increased 89% in just the past 2 months because people are no longer afraid of arbitrary enforcement destroying their businesses over nothing. Rule 6 addresses something sneaky that's been happening: the government tracking your digital footprint because you own guns. They were monitoring your location when you visited gun stores, tracking your online ammo purchases, recording your gun-related internet searches, and building profiles based on your social media. That's all illegal now. The court said the government can't turn exercising your constitutional rights into justification for constant surveillance. Your phone data, credit card records, and online activity related to legal gun ownership are now protected. If anyone tries to access this information, tell them digital surveillance of lawful gun owners is prohibited, and I don't consent to any searches of my devices or records. Government agencies spent years tracking gun owners through digital footprints in ways most Americans never suspected were happening. The NSA ran a program with an internal designation that automatically flagged people based on internet searches, searching for terms like bulk ammunition, AR-15 parts, concealed carry laws, gun show schedules, or FFL transfer procedures put you on a monitoring list. The Department of Homeland Security operated a separate program monitoring firearms purchases through the financial system. Spending over $1,000 on guns or ammunition within any 30-day window automatically flagged your name for analyst review. Every one of these programs has been completely shut down following the court ruling. Over 50,000 gun owners were being actively monitored through these programs without knowing it was happening. Rule 5 eliminates the games that some states have been playing with carry permits. The Supreme Court set 3 non-negotiable rules. Permits must be processed within 30 days, no more subjective good cause requirements, and fees can't exceed $50. States can't turn a constitutional right into a privilege by making you wait forever, requiring you to prove why you need to carry, or charging excessive fees. If you live in California, New York, New Jersey, or any other restrictive state, your entire permit system just got overhauled. Applications that have been sitting in bureaucratic limbo for months are automatically approved after 30 days. States like New York were taking 8 to 12 months to process single applications, and that timeline started after completing training, submitting paperwork, and paying all fees. California charged $300 or more when combining application fees, fingerprinting fees, background check fees, and processing fees. New York currently has 47,000 permit applications pending for more than 30 days. Hawaii had issued only 226 total concealed carry permits in the entire state before this ruling. They've been forced to approve over 3,000 applications in the past month alone, with another 8,000 pending applications that must be processed within the 30-day window. Any permit application pending more than 30 days is automatically approved by federal law right now. Anyone previously denied for failing to show proper cause or good reason can submit new applications, and the old denial cannot be used against them. Rule 4 is probably the biggest privacy win we've seen. The federal government has been ordered to delete all their digitized gun owner records within 90 days. The court said maintaining searchable databases violates federal law, period. Even more importantly, any state that shares gun owner information with federal agencies is participating in an illegal registry and has to stop immediately. The ATF has 90 days to prove they've destroyed everything, or they face contempt of court. This effectively kills any possibility of a national gun registry through the back door. The ATF spent years building an enormous searchable database tracking who owns which guns, and the scale of what they compiled is staggering. When gun dealers closed their businesses, the ATF collected all their paper transaction records and digitized them. The system let them type in any name and instantly see every gun purchase that person made. They could search by firearm type and find everyone who purchased AR-15 rifles or any specific handgun model. Serial numbers, calibers, purchase dates, dealer locations, everything was indexed and searchable in seconds. 6 states were actively feeding information directly to federal databases through information sharing agreements. California, New York, Connecticut, Illinois, Maryland, and New Jersey all sent state-level purchase records to federal servers where they were indexed and made available to multiple government agencies. Independent forensic computer auditors have to verify the information cannot be recovered through any means. The officials responsible, including the ATF director and senior leadership, could face criminal penalties, including substantial fines and imprisonment. Rule 3 puts a stop to gun confiscation without proper criminal process. Red flag laws that don't require actual criminal charges are unconstitutional. Civil asset forfeiture of guns is over. Police can't take your firearms during an investigation unless you're actually arrested and charged with a crime. The Supreme Court was crystal clear. No seizure without arrest, formal charges, and due process. Gone are the days when police could say, "We're taking your guns while we investigate," or someone reported you might be dangerous. The way these programs worked was genuinely disturbing when you look at the details. An ex-spouse going through a bitter divorce, a neighbor who didn't like you, someone you got into an argument with at work could file a complaint. Police would take that complaint to a judge and get what's called an emergency protective order or a red flag order. Then they'd arrive at your home, sometimes without you even knowing a complaint had been filed against you. Every firearm you owned would be confiscated on the spot. Across 21 states that had red flag laws, police confiscated firearms in roughly 15,000 cases last year. In more than 2/3 of those cases, no criminal charges ever got filed. Some states took an average of 14 months to return firearms, and gun owners spent between $8,000 and $12,000 on average in legal fees, fighting to get their own property back. Anyone who had firearms taken through red flag orders or civil forfeiture within the last 5 years now has clear constitutional grounds to demand immediate return. Rule 2 changes everything about how police interact with gun owners. Officers who violate your Second Amendment rights no longer get qualified immunity protection. They face personal financial liability, potential federal prosecution, and career-ending consequences. The court said if any reasonable person would know that confiscating someone's legal gun or arresting them for lawful carry violates the Constitution, then police officers are expected to know it too. This has already resulted in multi-million-dollar personal judgments against officers, and police departments are scrambling to retrain everyone. In Harris County, Texas, a judge ordered 3 officers to personally pay $2.4 million after they arrested someone for open carrying when Texas law explicitly allows it. A Broward County, Florida officer is facing federal civil charges and lost a pension worth approximately $890,000 over his career after confiscating legally owned guns during a traffic stop when he had no legal authority to do so. Out in Maricopa County, Arizona, a sheriff's deputy got hit with a personal fine of $156,000 and a permanent ban from working in any law enforcement position anywhere in America after he held on to someone's concealed carry firearm for 6 hours without any legal justification. Officers are being warned in the most direct language possible that violating gun rights will destroy their career and their financial life. Rule 1 is the foundation that makes everything else possible. The Supreme Court elevated Second Amendment rights to the highest level of constitutional protection available under American law. This means any law affecting your gun rights has to survive strict scrutiny, the most demanding legal test we have. The government must prove they have a compelling reason for any restriction and use the least restrictive method possible. The burden is now entirely on the government to justify limitations on your rights, not on you to prove you deserve them. This single change makes thousands of existing gun laws legally questionable and forces politicians to meet the highest constitutional standards before passing new restrictions. Federal courts are now treating your Second Amendment the same way they treat freedom of speech and freedom of religion, which puts it at the top tier of constitutional protection. This matters more than you think because it completely reverses who has to prove what in court. Every time any level of government wants to pass a restriction on firearms, they now face strict scrutiny. They need to show a compelling governmental interest, which means the problem has to be urgent and severe, not just something that sounds like a good idea. They have to prove the restriction they're proposing actually solves that problem effectively. Most importantly, they have to prove there's no other possible solution that would restrict your rights any less than what they're proposing. Constitutional scholars who've studied this ruling say between 60 and 70% of current gun regulations across the country will fail this test. What we're looking at here is the most comprehensive restoration of Second Amendment rights in generations. These aren't just legal technicalities, they're real-world protections that affect how you can exercise your constitutional rights every day. The key is understanding these changes and knowing how to use them. Gun ownership in America just became a lot more straightforward and a lot more protected. Stay informed, know your rights, and remember that these protections only work if you understand them. The legal landscape has shifted dramatically in favor of constitutional rights, and every gun owner needs to understand what that means for them personally.